Have you ever had that feeling that you were born for something greater, but you can't explain it? As if you carry an invisible mission, something that only you can feel. This is not imagination. It is the calling. Many ignore it, but the chosen ones feel it deeply. And when this mission is not understood, the soul begins to suffer in silence. Being chosen is not a privilege. It is a responsibility. It is to feel more, to see what others ignore, to carry a burden that no one understands. However, over time, this burden can turn into a blockage. The soul slows down, the spirit gets lost, and the shine dims. Not because you gave up, but because internal wounds began to command your choices. These wounds, which I call diseases of the soul, do not show up in tests, but they manifest in behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. Gradually, the symptoms take over: apathy, impulsiveness, selfishness, disconnection from the divine. And that is why so many chosen ones feel paralyzed, as if they were trapped in a life that does not represent who they are. Today, I want to open your eyes. I want to show you that there is a pattern, a hidden script that tries to sabotage those who have a mission. There are 4 spiritual diseases that settle in the soul and distance the chosen ones from their true purpose. If you recognize these wounds and seek healing, your journey can change, and change deeply. But before moving on, I want to ask something that goes beyond the ordinary. Do not follow this channel impulsively. Follow it if this message resonated with you, if inside you felt something real. Because this space is for awakened souls, not for the curious. Here we do not pretend to evolve. We face the truth, heal, and steadfastly continue on the mission. If this is your path, welcome. 1. Foolishness. When the soul drifts away from wisdom, foolishness does not scream. It arrives quietly, without making noise. When you notice, you are already living on autopilot, repeating empty routines without presence, without soul. For a chosen one, this is dangerous, because those who carry a mission cannot give in to distraction. Each day lived without awareness is a day far from purpose. You wake up, work, complete tasks, respond to messages, distract yourself with anything that takes you away from silence. Everything seems urgent, but nothing truly fulfills you. This is foolishness at work. The soul becomes muffled, as if it has been pushed into a corner. The body is functioning, but the spirit is absent. Chosen ones were not made to live in survival mode. They were made to transform. And this requires presence, wisdom. But the modern world offers noise, haste, and excess information. The result? You spend the whole day doing 1,000 things, but feel like you haven't done anything that truly matters. This corrodes the soul from the inside. The wisdom that the chosen one needs does not come from outside. It is not found in a short video, a quick post, or a beautiful phrase. It is born from within, in the listening of the soul, in true silence. It is when you stop running, sit with yourself, and ask, what am I doing with my life? Does this path make sense? A chosen one needs to learn to break out of this cycle. You don't have to become a monk, but you need to learn to pause, to listen to yourself, to notice your own thoughts, and question whether they are yours or just noises imposed on you. Foolishness makes you accept everything, repeat everything without thinking. Wisdom begins when you start to question. Perhaps you are feeding on content that does not nourish, on relationships that drain you, on habits that only repeat the emptiness. And then comes the question, what has been nourishing you? Does it bring you closer to or further away from your mission? The body feeds on food, the soul feeds on meaning, and without that, it becomes ill. You don't have to change everything at once. Start simple. Set aside 5 minutes of your day just to listen to what you are feeling. Write down what comes to your mind. Question what you are living. Wisdom does not burst forth with force. It starts with small flashes, but when you allow it, it illuminates everything around you. The spirit of the chosen one is sensitive, and sensitivity requires care. If you live in constant distraction, you will suffocate your sensitivity and lose connection with what truly matters. You will forget what you came here to do. Foolishness does not violently take you away from your mission. It takes you away with distraction, with excess, with haste. Wisdom, on the other hand, returns you to your center. It reminds you who you are. It shows you what is worth keeping and what needs to be let go. It's like waking from a deep sleep. The body may be tired, but the awakened soul knows where it is going. And that changes everything. If you feel that you are living by inertia, stop. Now breathe. Honestly ask yourself, is what I am living by? Does it make sense to me? Is it aligned with my mission? If the answer is no, thank yourself for noticing. This is the healing beginning, and the chosen ones only fulfill their mission when they choose to live with presence. 2. Intemperance. When desire becomes a prison. There are prisons without bars. They live inside us, disguised as will, desire, impulse. Intemperance is one of those prisons. It makes you believe that you are in control, when in fact you are being controlled. For a chosen one, this disease is treacherous, because those who were born to liberate others cannot live chained to their own instincts. Current society pushes pleasure all the time. Everything is now. Everything is overdue. The idea of waiting, breathing, reflecting seems like a weakness, but this is an illusion. True strength lies in mastering what masters you, and the chosen one needs to know this, because every uncontrolled impulse can delay your spiritual journey by months, even years. Intemperance appears subtly, in the endless gluttony, in habits disguised as addiction, in the compulsion for stimuli, for approval, for distractions. It seems common. Everyone lives this way, but the chosen one feels the damage more deeply, because their soul cries out when it is off balance. They know something is wrong, even if they cannot explain it. It's not about repressing what you feel. It's not about becoming rigid or cold. It's about channeling. It's about recognizing that your energy is sacred. And when you waste it on unrestrained impulses, you weaken yourself. The mission of the chosen one requires clarity, discipline, and balance. And that only arises when you learn to contain yourself. The soul wants peace, but the body wants pleasure. The problem is when you live only for the body. That distances you from the soul. Intemperance works like this. It promises quick relief, but leaves traces of emptiness. Pleasure without purpose becomes addiction, and addiction disconnects you from your essence. And without essence, the calling weakens. Self-control is not a prison. It is freedom. You do not have to say yes to everything you feel like doing. In fact, the chosen ones need to learn to say no. No to excess. No to loss of control. No to the repetition of patterns that only sabotage the mission. Every time you choose to master yourself, you are healing a part of yourself. Look sincerely at your actions. What habits have been weakening you? Where have you given in too much? What impulses have been guiding your days? Healing begins when you recognize that you have been fleeing from yourself, fleeing from silence, fleeing from discipline, fleeing from what truly matters. And this needs to stop if you want to move forward. An unbalanced chosen one cannot sustain their own light. They may have good intentions, but if they do not know how to direct their energy, they will lose their way. Intemperance is like a crack, small at first, but if not taken care of, it can crumble the structure. And the mission of a chosen one needs a firm foundation. It is not shameful to feel desire. The problem is living as a slave to it. Your soul asks for space, and it only manifests when the internal noise diminishes, when you stop feeding the body with excesses and start nourishing the spirit with purpose. Self-control is a form of love. Love for yourself, for your mission, for who you can become. Chosen one, understand, your energy is too precious to be wasted. Direct it. Use it with intention. Every choice you make builds or destroys the path. Do not live as if you have infinite time. The world needs your light today, but only those who have the strength to conquer themselves will shine. And this is the most sacred battle that exists. 3. Injustice. The ego that dims compassion. Injustice in the soul of the chosen one does not begin when they commit something grave. It begins when they close their eyes to others, when they distance themselves from the pain of others, when they place their own interests above the collective. The ego silently takes the place of compassion. And without compassion, the chosen one loses their essence. Being chosen is not being a saint. It is being in constant vigilance. Because the ego is cunning. It will convince you that everything is about you, that you deserve more, that you are already doing enough, that your pain is always greater than that of others. And when you believe this, you start to act with injustice without realizing it. Injustice is not only found in great actions. It resides in small acts of indifference, in the way you treat those who cannot offer you anything, in how you judge those who think differently, in how you close your heart when someone asks for help. The chosen one was called to heal, not to point fingers. The energy of the chosen one strengthens when they serve, when they care, when they feel the pain of others as if it were their own. This is true spiritual justice, realizing that we are part of something greater, and that your mission has no value if it is not connected to the collective good. You may have gifts, vision, sensitivity, but if your heart is hardened, none of this flows. The ego builds walls. Compassion builds bridges. And the chosen one was born to connect, not to isolate. When you act with empathy, you align with the divine. You become a channel for real healing. The world is full of wounded people who just need to be heard, respected, recognized. Your gesture can change someone's vibration, but if the ego dominates, you will pass them by. You will ignore. You will rationalize. You will say, "It's not my problem." And this is a betrayal of your mission. Spiritual injustice occurs when you forget that we are all one, that the light you carry is not yours. It is borrowed to illuminate the path of others. When you use this light only for yourself, it dims, but when you share it, it multiplies. And this is the essence of the chosen one. Ask yourself honestly, have I been acting with compassion? Have I judged too much? Have I placed my pain above that of the world? Have I ignored the needs of others out of selfishness or emotional laziness? These answers are uncomfortable, but necessary, because without this honest look, there is no healing. The soul of the chosen one needs to be light to serve. And a soul full of ego is heavy. It carries guilt, pride, vanity, superiority disguised as awareness. Only humility can dissolve this. The humility to recognize that we are all learning, that no one is above, that each person has their invisible struggle. True justice begins within. It is the balance between firmness and love, between knowing who you are without forgetting that the other is also part of the whole. The ego separates, compassion unites, and the mission of the chosen ones can only be sustained in unity. There is no real purpose where there is contempt for others. Chosen one, your light is not measured by your spirituality, but by your capacity to love. And loving, at times, is listening. It is forgiving. It is understanding. It is putting yourself in the place of others. It is stepping out of the center. 4. Impiety, the void of those who disconnect from God. Impiety does not begin with the denial of God. It begins in forgetfulness. Gradually, the soul stops seeking the sacred. The connection fades away. The spiritual becomes an obligation. The heart cools. And when the chosen one loses this link with the higher, everything seems to lose its sparkle. The mission becomes distant, without direction. There are moments when faith wavers, not out of malice, but out of fatigue, pain, doubt, the noisy world. All of this weighs heavily. And without realizing it, the chosen one stops praying, stops trusting, stops talking to God. But it is at this point that the soul begins to dry out. Because without God, it loses its source. It's not about religion. It's about connection. It's about having a safe place within you where the sacred resides. The chosen one needs this, because their mission demands strengths that the world cannot provide. Only those who connect with the higher understand how much this connection nourishes, cleanses, and protects. Impiety functions like an emotional virus. It creates indifference. It makes it seem like everything depends solely on you. And the more you try to solve everything alone, the more you wear yourself out. The heart of the chosen one was not made to walk without spiritual direction. It was made to follow guided, in peace, with purpose. You may have gifts, vision, courage, but if you are disconnected from the source, everything becomes too much effort. Everything weighs you down. Everything exhausts you. Impiety robs meaning. And when meaning goes away, exhaustion takes over. And that's when many give up on the mission without even realizing what they have lost. Reconnecting with God does not require complex rituals. It begins with sincerity, with a simple conversation, with a true prayer, even if silent. Heaven hears the heart before the words, and the chosen one needs to remember that they are not here to fight alone. The mission is spiritual, and it needs a spiritual foundation. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly felt God? When was the last time you prayed without haste, just to talk? If you miss this, it is a sign that the soul is asking for reconnection. The emptiness you feel is not a lack of success. It is a lack of the sacred. Faith is what sustains the chosen one in times of chaos. When everything seems to be crumbling, it is the presence of God that keeps the light burning inside. It does not matter the storm outside. Those who are connected with the divine remain steadfast because they know they are not alone. They never were. Impiety makes you believe that you are strong enough without God, but this strength is false. It breaks at the first hard blow. The true strength of the chosen one comes from the higher, and it only endures when there is humility to recognize that it is in dependence on God that real power is born. Chosen one, your mission is great, but it was never about doing everything on your own. It is about being a channel. It is about allowing God to work through you, with you, and for you. And this only happens when the soul is connected, when there is space for the sacred within your day. If you feel you have drifted away, do not blame yourself, but do not ignore it either. Returning is simple: silence, sincerity, and presence. Talk to God as one talks to a father, as one who asks for help and offers love. The reconnection heals the weariness of the soul, and it also heals the path of your mission. The truth is that there are moments when the chosen one feels that something inside them is not right. They cannot explain it. They just feel a weight, a distance from their own essence. And this weight is often a sign that the soul is wounded. The silent spiritual diseases begin this way. taking up space, blocking light, confusing purpose. It is not shameful to admit that the soul has become ill. Everyone goes through this. Everyone, including the chosen ones. The difference lies in what you do with this pain. You can ignore it and continue living on autopilot, or you can listen to what your soul is trying to say. Pain is often an invitation, a call to return to what truly matters. The healing of the soul begins with sincerity. Without masks, without excuses, you need to look within, not with guilt, but with courage. Ask yourself, where have I abandoned myself? Which voices have I followed? The soul cries out, but only those who silence the external noise can hear it. The answer is not outside. It is inside, waiting for your attention. The diseases we have seen, foolishness, intemperance, and injustice, do not arise by chance. They are symptoms of a disconnection. When the chosen one disconnects from themselves, from others, and from God, the void grows. The autopilot takes over. The soul weakens. But the good news is, it's always possible to start over. It's always possible to heal. The world is in a hurry, but the soul has its own timing. Healing is not a race. It is a return. It is remembering who you are. And you, chosen one, are not just anyone. You carry a mission, and such a mission cannot be fulfilled with a broken heart. Healing is necessary so that you can walk with firmness, clarity, and truth. You are not here merely to survive. You did not come into the world to fulfill obligations and wait for time to pass. You were called to make an impact, to heal, to awaken others. But only those who accept purification can do this. And this purification does not come from outside. It is internal. It is a silent cleaning that begins with the decision to change. The soul of the chosen one is like a lantern, but it only shines when it is clean, when it is connected with the higher, when it is not clogged with resentments, vices, distractions, and pride. Injustice, foolishness, and intemperance dirty this lens. But the good news is that, with humility and intention, everything can be cleansed. Healing the soul is a process of returning to the origin. It is not something mystical or unattainable. It is simple. Pray, meditate, write, ask for clarity. Talk to God with sincere words. Say that you need help. Heaven does not require perfection. It requires presence. And when you decide to be present, healing begins to take effect, even without you noticing. Perhaps today you feel far from your mission. Perhaps you are tired, discouraged, or even lost. But I tell you with certainty, your light is still there. It is just covered by layers of pain. And pain is not the end. Pain is a sign that life still exists. And where there is life, transformation is possible. The mission of the chosen ones is not just to teach. It is to live what they teach. It is to go through the process with truth. It is to fall and rise again with faith. It is to look within with love. It is to be the first to heal in order to be a channel of healing for others. This world needs you whole, not half. Chosen one, you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are what you decide to do with what you feel now. And if you have come this far, it is because there is something inside you asking for a new path. A path of a healed soul, an awakened spirit, and a heart aligned with heaven. If you feel this call, do not ignore it. Healing begins with a decision, an honest choice. Are you ready to take your place, not as someone perfect, but as someone available to be transformed? The world is waiting for your light, and it only shines when you decide to say yes to your soul. Throughout this journey, you have come to know 4 silent diseases that especially affect those who have been called for something greater. And perhaps, while listening, You found yourself identifying with more than one of them. This is not weakness. It is a sign that your soul is still alive, still feels, still wants to shine again. Foolishness distances you from purpose without you realizing it. It fills your days with distractions and empties your actions of meaning. It makes you live on autopilot, far from the awareness that the chosen one needs to have in order to pursue their mission. Intemperance is the imbalance of desires. It takes over when impulses command more than the spirit. It promises pleasure, but delivers emptiness. For the chosen one, this weakens the soul and diverts focus from what truly matters. Injustice arises when the ego begins to occupy the space that should belong to empathy. When you forget the other, you forget your essence. The chosen one is called to serve, not to judge. When compassion disappears, the light weakens. Impiety, finally, is the distancing from the sacred. When the connection with God is lost, everything becomes effort. The shine disappears, the direction fades, the soul dries up. And without this connection to the higher, the chosen one cannot sustain their mission. But none of this is the end. It is merely an alert, the call. Every illness can be healed. Every soul can be reborn. Transformation begins the moment you decide to look within with truth. When you silence and listen to what your heart has been trying to say for a long time. Now I want to know from you, which of these diseases of the soul do you feel hit you the most? Comment below. Speak sincerely. This exchange is not just a catharsis. It is collective healing. This is a space for awakened souls, for those who feel, for those who are willing to heal, in order to truly live their purpose. And if this message resonated with you, then you already know you are a chosen one.